we had a lot of sports going on this weekend. I mean, we had the Stanley Cup playoffs. We got to go through that a little bit. You had UFC 315, and I heard it was actually a pretty good event. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch it, but we'll go over the results of that pay-per-view, live from the Bell Center in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. So you had Fight Night on this weekend. And yeah, I guess from the looks of it, it was a hell of a lot better than those boxing fights that we watched a few weeks ago. So we have to go over that, and then we got the new way boxing. Sam Marinelli making her pro debut this Saturday. We got to dive into that a little bit, and then these Detroit Tigers. What the hell happened this weekend? I mean, I get it. You're gonna have slumps. It's a long season, but the Texas Rangers. I think this was a team that the Tigers could easily won 2 out of 3 or even sweep the series. But we'll talk about the Detroit Tigers as well. But first of all, we got to talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs. So the Stanley Cup playoffs, we got to talk about the Panthers and the Maple Leafs. So this has been a really good series, in my opinion. One of the best series in the Stanley Cup playoffs so far. The second round, the Maple Leafs, Panthers, Game 4. Toronto led the series 2-0. Or 2-1 rather, come into this game, but then the Panthers shut them out 2-0. Sergei Bobrovsky stopped 23 shots in this game. He looked absolutely phenomenal. Now the series is tied 2 apiece. They're going back to Toronto Wednesday night, 7 o'clock on ESPN, so check that one out. Shots 37-23 in favor of Florida. So Florida, one of those teams that just likes to shoot the puck, create those opportunities for their playmakers. And then the hits. I've said numerous times in this series, it's been very physical. 47-40 hits in favor of Toronto. Very physical. I mean, there was a couple of scruffs in this bout, in this game yesterday. I mean, it was crazy. We'll get to that late hit from Max Domi in a little bit, but yeah, physicality, that's key to the playoffs. Especially in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you have to be physical. I mean, obviously, you don't want to take the boneheaded penalties. You have to be a little disciplined, control your emotions a little bit, but you can't just be, soft pillows out there, right? You have to be aggressive. So these hits are phenomenal. I like seeing it. But again, you got to be disciplined about it. So you had that going on. Very physical between these two teams, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers. The power play opportunities, 6-3 in favor of Florida. And then Florida only got a power play goal out of that. But they had 6 opportunities for the power play, Florida did. I mean, they did get a goal, but they should have had many more opportunities to get power play goals. You have the man advantage. It's huge, especially in these playoffs. Second round, you're that much closer to the Stanley Cup Finals. You got to take advantage of those opportunities. But, on the flip side, Toronto, they had 3 opportunities themselves, and they couldn't get a power play goal with the man advantage. So, I mean, it's key. It's key in these Stanley Cup playoffs. So you had that going on. And then Carter Verhaeghe, Sam Bennett, 2 playmakers for the Florida Panthers. They both had a goal for the Florida Panthers. But, yeah, shutout loss for Toronto. And that's crazy because Toronto, early on in the series, they were scoring, 3, 4, 5 goals a game. I mean, they were really picking up that offense. And then, this game to get shut out. I mean, they couldn't do anything on offense. I mean, when you have one of the best goalies in the league, Sergei Bobrovsky, stopping everything that you give him, I mean, it's kind of hard to get goals, especially when you have a guy like that. But the Toronto's got to figure something out. I mean, you're going back home to Toronto Wednesday night. You got to pick it up for Toronto. So you have that. But then I want to talk about this late hit. I watched it yesterday. I'm sure a lot of you did as well. Towards the end of the game, Max Domi. All right, yeah, I mean, you all know him. Son of the great Ty Domi. He was a brute back in his day. But yeah, Max Domi, late hit. I mean, it was a blatant BS, uncalled for hit. Towards the end of the game was basically over. Late hit from behind on Panthers captain Alexander Barkov. I mean, it was a dangerous hit. I mean, he hit him from behind and, he crashed into the boards. It could have been a lot worse. His head could have snapped back. He could have seriously got hurt. And then, obviously, some of the Panthers players saw that, and they're just like, oh no, you're not getting away with that garbage. And they beat the crap out of him. He got his ass beat. Good. He deserves it. You don't do that towards the end of the game. You don't hit some guy from behind. That's a coward act from Max Domi. I didn't like it at all, and I'm glad he got his ass beat. He deserves it. I mean, what the hell is your problem, dude? Yeah, just because your team couldn't score any goals just because you didn't have the greatest night, you had a crappy night yourself. You have no right to do that against any player, especially a captain of a hockey team. I mean, what do you think was going to happen? Well, you think the guys are just going to watch their captain, get hit from behind? No, dude, you're going to get your ass kicked, and he did, and I'm glad he did. So I didn't like that. That's stuff that needs to get out of the game. And yeah, you can call me a softie for saying that, but you know what? Physicality is great, but I mean, let's don't be cowards about it. You're going to hit a guy from behind. You're a coward. You're a wimp for doing that. Be a man about it. So you had that going on yesterday. Maybe that'll fuel the Panthers going into Toronto. I mean, you had Matthew Tkachuk talking to some of the Toronto Maple Leafs players. He said he was going to go after William Nylander, but then Matthew Nines got involved. So Matthew Tkachuk in enemy territory Wednesday night in Toronto, 7 o'clock on ESPN. Maybe we could see possibly, a fight between Matthew Tkachuk and probably many of the Toronto Maple Leafs players, knowing how Matthew Tkachuk is. He's a hell of a character. He's very passionate. He's rough. He's aggressive. He's kind of a pain in the ass, but, he wants to win. He's a competitor. So we'll see what happens Wednesday night. But, yeah, Game 4 belongs to the Florida Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champions. 2-0 shutout against the Toronto Maple Leafs. They couldn't do anything. They looked god-awful. Sergei Bobrovsky looked like an absolute stud, MVP-type performance. Very aggressive series, very, lots of hits. Like I said, Max Domi, that late hit on Alexander Barkov, uncalled for. He's a coward for doing that. I didn't like that at all. But we got the next game, Wednesday, 7 p.m. on ESPN in Toronto. It's going to be very interesting there. So check that one out. Place your bets. That should be a good one. And then the first game, actually, yesterday, that was the late game, the Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. But the first game, 4:30 yesterday, you had the Winnipeg Jets going up against the Dallas Stars. So Game 3, series was tied 1 apiece coming into this game. Dallas wins 5-2. They looked fabulous. They lead the series 2-1. They won at home. Mikko Rantanen, former Colorado Avalanche player. I mean, they're probably kicking themselves in the ass for getting rid of this guy, because this guy, he's been the best player in these playoffs. I mean, he had a goal and 2 assists in this game. In the last 6 games he's been a part of in these playoffs, he's had 9 goals, 8 assists, so 17 points total. Colorado Avalanche, what the hell were you thinking getting rid of this guy? Oh, because he wasn't doing anything with Colorado? Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to prove to you why you guys made a crappy decision. He goes to Dallas. They're in the playoffs. Colorado got eliminated by Dallas in the first round, and this guy has been an absolute stud. Colorado, I mean, you must be smoking too much of the good stuff, because Mikko Rantanen is kicking ass, and he is putting on a show. So good for him. I mean, he's definitely the star. I mean, get it? The star of the Dallas Stars. 17 points in the last 6 games. That's phenomenal. I mean, he's busy. He's competitive. He wants to win. Great player. And Colorado got rid of him. I don't know. It's crazy. But, NHL is a business, just like every other sport in the world. But you get rid of Mikko Rantanen, and he's going to shove in your face. And these stats here, I mean, they prove it. I mean, he was busy yesterday. He had a goal and 2 assists to add to his phenomenal stat sheet so far in these playoffs. So you have that going on. So shots, 26-25, pretty even for these two teams. The Dallas Stars obviously in favor of that. And then hits, 42-41. Pretty aggressive series as well. But again, in favor of Dallas. So these guys like to shoot the puck. A lot of these guys like to make hits, be aggressive. Power play opportunities, 4-2 in favor of Winnipeg. But unfortunately, the Dallas Stars were the only ones to get a power play goal. So you have 4 opportunities at the power play, and you can't get a damn goal. Winnipeg, I mean, you got to figure something out, dude. I mean, that's horrible. You have all those opportunities with the man advantage, and you can't get a power play goal. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, NHL playoffs, I know, it's a crazy time. It's not the regular season. I've said this numerous times on the podcast. But when you have that many opportunities with the man advantage and you can't get a goal, what do you think's going to happen? You're not going to win a lot of games. And that's why you lost 5-2 on the road in Dallas. Dallas looks phenomenal. So they got to figure something out. And then Jake Ottinger, 23 saves on 25 shots. He looked great for the Dallas Stars. But yeah, Winnipeg, they got to fix something. They got to figure something out because the next game is tomorrow, 8 p.m. in Dallas on ESPN. They got to win a game on the road. Because if you're going to go down 3-1 going back to Winnipeg, that's going to be tough for the Winnipeg Jets. So Dallas Stars look great. Mikko Rantanen continues his dominance in these playoffs. He looks absolutely phenomenal. He's the best player in these playoffs right now. Colorado Avalanche, you guys are boneheads for getting rid of him. So that series has been exciting. The Jets and the Stars. Check that one out. But then we got to talk about the rest of the weekend. So the Carolina Hurricanes and the Washington Capitals. Probably my favorite series so far. Just a lot of action, a lot of key players. You got Alexander Ovechkin. We all know the story. His season, breaking Wayne Gretzky's goals record. 895, or I think he ended up having 897 the regular season. I mean, the guy is unbelievable. So you have that going on. But this series has been exciting. Game 3, Carolina led the series 2-1. And they lead the series now 2-1. The Canes win in dominant fashion, 4-0. So Washington, where were you guys? What the hell happened? I mean, you guys got shut out, and that's embarrassing. Andrei Svechnikov got his 6th postseason goal of the year of the playoffs, so he's been red hot for their Carolina Hurricanes. Shots 28-21 in favor of the Carolina Hurricanes. Another team who likes to shoot the puck, create those opportunities for their playmakers. And then hits 47-43, another physical series between these two teams in favor of the Capitals, but you got shut out 4-0. I mean, you can hit all the guys in the world, but when you can't find the puck in the back of the net, you're not going to win the game. And that's how you win the game. That's how the game's played. So very physical, but Capitals, they needed to score some points. They needed to get some goals. They were shut out in embarrassing fashion by the Carolina Hurricanes, 4-0. Carolina takes a 2-1 lead in the series. Power play opportunities. They both had 2, but Carolina gets 2 power play goals as a result. So, once again, the power play opportunities are huge. They are huge. In these playoffs, you have to take advantage of those opportunities, and that's what Carolina did. Where was Washington? Did they all just have a coffee and just sit on the bench and watch the game? Carolina came to play, dude. I mean, when you got Rod Brindamore behind the bench coaching this team, it's going to be a high-powered offense team. Hell, he won a Stanley Cup with the same franchise, with the Carolina Hurricanes, all the way back to 2006. I was 9 years old when they won the Stanley Cup back in 2006. He was a player back then. He was on that team, that Stanley Cup winning team. Now he's the coach, and he's a great coach. Every single year he's been the head coach there. Every season, he's led his team to the playoffs. If they can keep this up, if they can get past Washington, they might make a shot to the Stanley Cup final. And I hope they do. So, Carolina looking absolutely phenomenal. Washington's got to figure something out. Alexander Ovechkin wants that Stanley Cup, especially having that historical season, breaking the great Wayne Gretzky's record, the great one himself, all-time goals leader. Alexander Ovechkin wants to top it off by winning the Stanley Cup once again. Obviously, he won one way back in 2018, but, he's getting older. He's pushing 40. He wants to hoist the Stanley Cup when it's all said and done. But when you're getting shut out 4-0 against the Carolina Hurricanes, that's not going to help you out that much. So you had that. Block shots, 27-13 in favor of Washington. They like to block many shots. A lot of defensive guys putting their bodies on the line. That's great and all, but like I said, this game's ultimately won on the scoreboard. So Washington's got to figure something out because they got a game tonight, 7 p.m. on TNT, Game 4. Frederick Anderson for the Carolina Hurricanes. He had 21 saves. He looked great. But Washington, I mean, let's be honest, they didn't do a whole lot when they get shut out 4-0 against the Hurricanes. So that was crazy setup there. But tonight we got Game 4, 7 p.m. between those two, the Carolina Hurricanes and the Washington Capitals. 7 p.m. TNT. Check it out. It'll be a good one there. And now we got to talk about the final second round of the playoff series between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Edmonton Oilers. Game 3, Edmonton leads the series 2-1. Vegas won this game 4-3 on the road in Edmonton because Vegas dropped the first 2 games at home against the Oilers. Oilers came back. They had 5, and they've now had 6 comeback victories in these playoffs. It's an NHL record. Good for them. I mean, don't count out the Oilers, right? But I guess in this case, don't count out the Vegas Golden Knights because it was tied 3-3. And I get it. And Vegas Golden Knights, they were up 3-2 at one point. Oilers tied it, but then the Vegas Golden Knights ultimately won with 0.4 seconds left. Yes, Riley Smith, he nailed a goal in with 0.4 seconds left. He had 2 goals in the game. He was absolutely phenomenal for the Vegas Golden Knights. And then Corey Perry, he became the oldest player in Oilers history, 39 years old, to record a multi-goal game in the playoffs. So this guy's still playing. I mean, he's bounced around the league. He's played for the Ducks. He played for the Montreal Canadiens, I do believe. He played for the Tampa Bay Lightning, many other teams. Now he's with the Edmonton Oilers. He had 2 goals this past weekend. Oldest player in Edmonton Oilers history to record multi-goal games to have a multi-goal game in the playoffs. So good for him. But your team lost. But dude, 4-3, 0.4 seconds left. I can't stress it enough. What a way to win that game, right? And that was an exciting game, obviously, by the score. But Riley Smith nails one with 0.4 seconds left. They avoid going down 3-0. You needed that win. If you're Vegas, you needed the win in Edmonton. And that's exactly what happened. So good for them. Good for the Vegas Golden Knights. And then, it was originally reviewed, see what was going on, if he actually scored within regulation. He did. 0.4 seconds, good goal. Vegas moves on. And you got the next game tonight, 9:30 p.m., TNT in Edmonton for Game 4. Vegas got to win this one. They got to tie it up and got to go back to Vegas for Game 5. So this was great. Great game. Probably the best game this weekend just because of the situation and the significance of it, right? 0.4 seconds, tied at 3. Another chance for one of these games to go to overtime. We've seen a lot of that. That's been a common theme in these Stanley Cup playoffs this year. Just going to overtime, 2 overtimes, right? If we're talking about the first round with the Edmonton or with the Winnipeg Jets with that series. But yeah, it's been crazy, these Stanley Cup playoffs. Even though I've heard the percentage is down for viewership this year. And you wonder why, right? Maybe it's just like, the Detroit Red Wings are not in it. And yeah, I got to mention Detroit, right? Yeah, oh, you're a homer. Oh, that's bias. But you got to understand something. The Detroit Red Wings for 25 straight years went to the playoffs. It was fun. They're an original team. Lots of history with that franchise. They haven't made it in 9 damn years, dude. I'm getting frustrated. Everyone else in the state of Michigan is getting frustrated. And even outside of Michigan, people are getting frustrated because it doesn't feel right when the Detroit Red Wings are not in the playoffs. Am I the only one who thinks that? So despite how exciting some of these games have been so far, it's just, I don't know, it doesn't feel right without the Red Wings. But anyways, this was the best game. Game 3, Golden Knights, Oilers. Vegas wins 4-3 with 0.4 seconds left. Riley Smith caps it off for the Vegas Golden Knights. It was great. But yeah, Corey Perry, as I mentioned, 2 goals for Edmonton. Connor McDavid, he scored with 3 minutes and 2 seconds left in the third period to tie it at 3. And it bounced off the heel of Vegas's Braden McNabb. It was a great goal by Connor McDavid, one of the best players in the league right now. And then Vegas, obviously, as I mentioned, they desperately needed this win, after dropping both home games to start off this series against Edmonton. So that was a big win, a huge win for Vegas. And now the next game is tonight, 9:30, TNT for Game 4 in Edmonton. It's going to be a good one. So check that one out. That's the Stanley Cup playoffs. Like I said, my opinion, still pretty exciting, but could be better. We need the Detroit Red Wings to get their asses in the playoffs again. So then maybe the Stanley Cup playoffs are normal again, right? So Stanley Cup playoffs, check them out. Now we got to talk about UFC 315. So 315, unfortunately, the Brides wasn't able to watch the event. I was planning on watching it. I had to pick my parents up at the airport. It was late. I was getting tired, so it is what it is. I saw some highlights, but Jack Della Maddalena beats Belal Muhammad to become the new UFC welterweight champion. He beats Belal Muhammad by unanimous decision. I guess this was a pretty good fight. So Belal Muhammad was actually not boring. He actually threw strikes. He had over 100 something, like 110, 120 significant strikes. And then Jack Della Maddalena had like 140 plus significant strikes. So these guys were actually beating the hell out of each other. It sounded like it was an actual main event for the title. Great. But now it sets up, Jack Della Maddalena possibly going up against Islam Makhachev. We'll see what happens with that. But as a result, Jack Della Maddalena extends his winning streak to 18 in a row. So good for him, 18-2 record. This guy is phenomenal. So good for him. He's the new UFC welterweight champion. And then Belal Muhammad, it was his first title defense since winning the title way back last July at UFC 304 when he beat Leon Edwards for the title. And I guess he looked good, respectable fighters. He got a lot of praise for his performance. I mean, obviously on the losing end, but he looked good, I guess. I'll have to watch it. Maybe I can watch it, on a replay because I'm interested just to see how he performed. Because, Belal Muhammad, he's not the most exciting fighter, and we talked about this last week on the podcast. He's not the most exciting fighter, but, I guess he looked good despite losing to Jack Della Maddalena. He put on a pretty good show, so I'll have to watch that. But like I said, now, Jack Della Maddalena, he's the UFC welterweight champion. Who's he going to face next? That's always the question. Who's going to be your first title defense? Maybe Islam Makhachev. Does he move up from 155 to 170? Does he make that weight? Does he move up? Machado Gary. Does he come up? Because he was actually the replacement for this fight. He weighed in. He made weight. So if anything happened, he was going to be the replacement. So does he get that? Or does Shavkat Rakhmonov, undefeated, dominant UFC welterweight in the UFC, does he get a title shot? I think they're going to push for Islam Makhachev because they know it's going to be a super fight. So that's going to be really interesting what happens with that. But Jack Della Maddalena, man, congratulations. You're the new UFC welterweight champion. So you had that going on. And then the co-main event, you had Valentina Shevchenko beating Manon Fiorot by unanimous decision. It breaks Manon Fiorot's 12-fight winning streak as a result. Valentina Shevchenko, she's the queen of the UFC women's flyweight. Obviously, it shows here. Another successful title defense for her. Moves her record to 25-4-1. She successfully defends the UFC women's flyweight title. Her 12th straight title fight for Valentina Shevchenko. 12 straight title fights. It's insane. 10 title defenses as a champion. I mean, she's the queen, man. No one can stop her. She's absolutely phenomenal. And then Manon Fiorot, 12-fight winning streak, as I mentioned, snapped by Valentina Shevchenko. Her record now is 12-2. But yeah, who's in line? Who's going to face Valentina Shevchenko? Because Alexa Grasso got dominated, right? So maybe the chick that beat her, Natalia Silva, 7-0 UFC record, undefeated. Maybe she's next in line for a title shot for the women's flyweight belt, or title, I should say. Who knows? We'll see what happens. We'll see what the UFC matchmakers want to do. But Valentina Shevchenko, I told you guys she was going to be dominant. She was going to win this one. She did. So good for her. Congratulations. Hopefully she will fight Natalia Silva or some other contender in the UFC women's flyweight division. So yeah, that. Jose Aldo, he lost again to the Canadian Ayman Zahabi by unanimous decision, and after he announced his retirement. And you know what? Good for him. He's 38 years old. He's the former UFC featherweight champion. He dominated that division, the 145-pound division, for many years until Conor McGregor knocked him out in 13 seconds. Yeah, you all remember that, right? But besides that, one of the greatest mixed martial arts of all time. He announced his retirement, 38 years old, after the fight. 38 years old. He has nothing else to prove. Good for him. One of the best of all time. So, yeah, that going on. But, yeah, Ayman Sahabi. Hopefully there's some opportunities for him down the line. Maybe a shot at gold, perhaps. Or I don't know. But good for him. He beat a legend, right? I mean, he's not Jose Aldo from, 10, 12 years ago, but it's still a big name, right? But, yeah, Jose Aldo, done. He's all done with mixed martial arts. So, yeah, that going on. Congrats to him. You enjoyed the retirement. And then Natalia Silva, like I said, 7-0 UFC record. She dominated, I guess, Alexa Grasso by unanimous decision. Silva, 19-5 record. Dominated, and you saw in the judges' scorecards, 27-30, 27-30, 27-30. All three judges were consistent. Natalia Silva dominating Alexa Grasso. So, obviously, we're not going to see that fight between Valentina Shevchenko and Alexa Grasso for the UFC Flyweight Championship. That's a shame because it's basically split one apiece because, obviously, their second fight was a draw, as you guys remember. But, yeah, Natalia Silva. Give her a title shot, perhaps, right? And then Alexa Grasso, it just seems like she's never rebounded since losing the title to Shevchenko back in last September at UFC 306. She lost the UFC flyweight belt to Valentina Shevchenko, and it just seems like Alexa Grasso just never rebounded from that. And, that's the thing about the fight game, especially title fights. You get after an ass beating, man, after you get beaten up so many times, you might not be the same fighter after that. I mean, a prime example, and I hate using this because I love the guy. The guy's one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. Tony Ferguson. 12-fight winning streak. Gets a title shot. It gets delayed so many times because Khabib, gets hospitalized. Tony Ferguson trips on some wire. Yeah, some damn wires. And tears his knee completely. Then you have, Khabib not making weight. Then the pandemic happened, so that delayed a lot. I mean, this fight got delayed so many times, 5 times to be exact. Tony Ferguson should have got a title shot even before the 12-fight winning streak. But he wanted to stay active, so he goes up against Justin Gaethje, the hardest-hitting lightweight, the hardest-hitting 155-pounder in the UFC, and he got destroyed. He got absolutely obliterated by Justin Gaethje. He was never the same fighter after that because after that ass beating, he lost 7 straight. So 8 total. 8 total losses for Tony Ferguson. But that's the fight game, man. You get your ass beat so many times, that chin. There's an expiration date on chins, man. It's gonna crumble one of these days. You can only take so many punches. And yeah, he was never the same after that. So hopefully Alexa Grasso can rebound. I know she's lost 2 fights in a row. One of them being a title fight. She lost the title to Valentina Shevchenko. And then you got absolutely dominated, according to the scorecards, to Natalia Silva, who's undefeated in the UFC. But hopefully she can come back. I just hate that maybe we don't get that 4th fight because we have to, right? It's split one apiece. And there's a 1 draw in there. We got to finish this. There has to be a 4th fight down the line. But when you lose 2 fights in a row and you don't look good in both of those fights, Dana White's not going to really push that fight between Grasso and Shevchenko. So Natalia Silva, congrats. Like I said, maybe her versus Valentina Shevchenko down the line. We'll see. But yeah, that was UFC 315. I'll have to check it out. I actually really want to watch these fights. So maybe I'll have to watch them on UFC Fight Pass or ESPN Plus whenever they show the replays of the fight and go from there. So that's UFC. We got to talk about these Detroit Tigers. I mentioned earlier, they dropped the series against the Texas Rangers. I honestly believe this was a team that they could have at least won 2 out of 3, even sweep them. But the Tigers dropped 2 out of 3 at home. Not a great way to come back from that road trip. You guys were 7-3 on the road. I mean, you guys look fantastic, but then you come home and then you guys kind of just took a crap, right? I mean, you guys you didn't show up and you got outscored 16-4 in the 3-game series. That's not good. I mean, that 16-4. That's that's an ass beating right there. I mean, that's not good at all. And I mentioned it on the podcast, and maybe last week, and maybe I cursed the Tigers in a way. I don't know if I did. Whatever, it is what it is. Baseball is a long season. You're going to have slumps. You're going to have losing streaks. Unfortunately, you're going to have injuries. I mean, there's no way to get around it. It's going to happen. Baseball, 162 games. That's a long season. But getting shut out 16-4 against a subpar Texas Rangers team, not good. It's not good. Our offense just went flat. Our offense non-existent this past weekend against the Texas Rangers. And then Saturday's game with Jack Flaherty at the mound. He's had his struggles. I've seen it. He just has, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him mentally. I don't know, yes, he won a World Series with the Dodgers last year. We had him part of the year, and then we got rid of him. He goes to the Dodgers, wins a World Series, and now he's back with the Tigers. Very interesting situation with Jack Flaherty. But, again, he's been struggling so far this season. So that Saturday's game, he only had 3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 5 earned runs. He gave up 4 home runs, 4.61 ERA. And then that's when the Tigers got destroyed, 10-3. Saturday's game. And then, the bullpen for the Tigers didn't help. You had Holton in there, and then they had Brebia. They didn't do anything. They allowed a combined 3 earned runs. So, when your pitching's horrible, starting pitching, the bullpen, they can't get the job done, you're not going to win a lot of games. You need a bullpen. You need a solid bullpen. This weekend, the Tigers did not have a solid bullpen. They looked horrible. They looked absolutely horrible. So, that same game, Spencer Torkelson leads the team in home runs. He was red hot on that road trip. He had 3 strikeouts. Same game. And then Trey Sweeney, 4 strikeouts. Zach McKinstry, 2 strikeouts. These guys were red hot. These guys were good on the road trip. And then they come home and they just lay an egg. What the hell? What happened? What happened? Like I said, baseball long season is going to happen. Slumps, losing streaks, injuries, whatever. But against the Texas Rangers, I think this was a team that we could have won. Like I said, 2 out of 3 or even sweep them. Yeah, it just didn't happen, man. So, Sunday's game, we only had 2 hits. 2. 9 innings of baseball, 2 hits. That was the only thing the Rangers were offering to us. 2 hits. That's all you're going to get from us. Crazy. 7 scoreless innings. You're telling me you can't score a damn run in 7 innings? What the hell? So, Tigers, let's just forget about this series against the Rangers. Put it behind us. It's all said and done over with. We got to get ready for Boston tonight. Yeah, we're keep playing. There's no days off. Tonight, 6:40 p.m., Boston. They just came off winning 2 out of 3 against the Kansas City Royals. Obviously, in the AL Central with the Detroit Tigers. So, we got to come out swinging tonight. You got Jackson Jobe on the mound. He's got to show up. And this Detroit Tigers offense, score some damn runs. You didn't have a problem doing that on the road last week. What the hell happened this weekend against the Rangers? So, I don't want to freak out. But, Tyler Mizzy, my boy, he wasn't freaking out either. If you check him out on Snapchat, he kind of understood, right? And we talked about it when I had him on a couple weeks ago. Going to happen. It's going to happen. Losing streaks, injuries, slumps. Bullpen doesn't show up. The offense is flat. Not scoring runs when we should. Well, I mean, yesterday, dude, we only had 2 hits and 7 scoreless innings. Like, bro, you can't. That cannot happen, man. So we got to win tonight. We got to start off this homestand against the Boston Red Sox. We got to get a win tonight. Jackson Jobe, like I said, on the mound. And then you got Montero on tomorrow. And then, obviously, our ace, Tarek Skubal, who's been phenomenal. I mean, dude. Possible Cy Young Award winner, perhaps. Back-to-back. Too early to tell. But right now, he looks great. And Tigers got to win against the Boston Red Sox. They have to. So, Tigers game tonight against Boston, opening up that series at home. Boston coming off of two out of 3 wins against the Royals this past weekend. Tigers, let's wake up a little bit. Let's score some runs. Our bullpen, our pitching, let's wake up a little bit. Let's shut these guys out. So Boston, Tigers, 6:40 p.m. tonight. Check it out. Detroit Tigers baseball right there. And now we're going to end this episode today. Sam Marinelli, another boxer coming out of New Way Training Center out of Clinton Township, Michigan. Fight week. It is fight week. Woo! Yes, let's go. Saturday, 7 p.m. Motor City Casino, Soundboard Theater. It is 21 and up. So, sorry, kids, you got to stay home. The brides will be there. I got my ticket already. I got to show my support. I love New Way. They're like a second family to me. She's making her pro debut. So, obviously, that's the 4th fighter coming out of New Way. And I've said it numerous times. But these guys are phenomenal. You got Kamel Macklin. You got Savannah Tini. You got Anthony Papillo. And now you got Sam Marinelli making her pro debut. 4th boxer coming out of New Way Training Center. Get your tickets right now. There should be some available. You got to message her. She's on Instagram. She's on Facebook. Just give her a follow or follow New Way Training Center. Message them. I mean, you use your smartphones. Yeah, smart, right? Be smart about it. Use your resources. Use your brains. Get tickets now. 21 and up. Get the families out. Get your friends out. It's going to be great. She's going to have a lot of support. I just know it. Just knowing New Way and how they are, that community. They are a family-oriented. They have a family-oriented mindset. Coach Bobby and Coach Izzy Curtis. I mean, 2 of the nicest people I ever met. They know what they're doing. They embrace that family mentality. I mean, we love one another. We support each other. It's going to be great. There's going to be a lot of support for Sammy. I'm going to be there. A lot of New Way people are going to be there. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a great night of boxing. But yeah, Sam Marinelli, congratulations. Kick some ass and have fun. So Sam Marinelli, 4th boxer coming out of New Way Training Center, making her pro debut this Saturday night, 7 p.m. Fight start. Doors open at 6:30. Soundboard Theater in Detroit, Michigan. Motor City Casino. Get your asses there, 21 and up. Get your tickets. She's on Instagram, Facebook, Messenger, message New Way Training Centers, social medias. They got Facebook and Instagram. Reach out to Coach Bobby Curtis. Look it up on your phone. Call them. Be like, hey, I need some tickets because I want to see Sam Marinelli dominate and kick ass. Do something, man. You don't want to miss it. She's going to do absolutely phenomenal. It's going to be a great night for New Way Training Boxing Center. So Sam Marinelli making her pro debut this Saturday night, 7 p.m. Check it out in Detroit, Michigan. And that's how we end this episode today of Guys Time. So thank you for joining me. The prize is out. You guys already know the drill. It's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. That's where this episode will be today. And, enjoy the week. It's Monday. Kick some ass. Start off on a good foot. Dominate. Handle your business. And, watch some sports. You got Tigers on tonight. You got Stanley Cup playoffs. The NBA playoffs has been crazy. Last night, the Pacers, the Indiana Pacers, they were kicking the crap out of the number 1 seed Cleveland Cavaliers. They were up by 41 points after the first half. 41 points against a number 1 seed. Crazy. And then, you had the Knicks winning 2 games in Boston. And then, obviously, Boston handled their business this weekend in New York. They needed to because they got absolutely embarrassed. Both games, they were up by 20 points against the Knicks. Knicks came back both times on the road in Boston and won both of those games. They were up 2-0. And then, obviously, they go to New York and Boston. They needed to win that game. And they did in dominant fashion. They handled their business. But NBA playoffs has been crazy. So check that out. NFL got a notification today. The opening season opener, September 4th, Thursday, 8:20 on NBC. You got the defending Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, going up against their rival, their longtime rival, their hated rival, the Dallas Cowboys. Oh yeah, we love the Cowboys, right? But that's how the NFL season opens. So yeah, that's going to be a very interesting one. I read a stat today from Adam Schefter. Since 2004, the defending Super Bowl champions have a record 15-5 in those season openers. So, I mean, I see Philly winning this game against Dallas because I just don't trust the Dallas Cowboys. The Philadelphia Eagles looked amazing last year. That's why they won the Super Bowl, because defense wins championships. They dominated the Kansas City Chiefs in that Super Bowl this past February. So that's how the season starts, the 2025 season for the NFL. The schedule drops this Wednesday, so check that out. It's going to be all over social media, so check that one out. But the Detroit Lions, I said it before on the podcast, dude, that road schedule is brutal. Oh, it is brutal for these Detroit Lions. Road schedule. I mean, we got to go on the road. We got to go to Philadelphia to play the Eagles. We got to go against Washington and play the Commanders. We got to go to Baltimore and play the Ravens. We got to go to LA and play the Rams. And then obviously Chicago, Green Bay, and Minnesota, because that's our division, the NFC North, right? But dude, that road schedule is brutal. So hopefully we'll see what the Lions do. But the official schedule for all the rest of the 32 teams drops Wednesday. So check that out. Be on the lookout for that. But yeah, football, it'll be back before we know it. So yes, we got that. We got NBA playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs, Detroit Tigers, and then all you boxing fans here in Michigan. Sam Marinelli making her pro debut this Saturday night, 7 p.m. Soundboard, Motor City Casino in Detroit, Michigan. 21 and up. Get your tickets. Reach out to her. I mean, let's make it a riot. Let's make it a wild night. So enjoy the rest of the week. Prize is out. You guys are amazing as usual. Thanks for the support. And you guys have a good day. All right, see you guys. Have a good one.